The text message from Mom felt like a punch to the gut. "We need to talk. Family meeting tonight. Important news about the house. I'm Zoe." And that message marked the beginning of the end of everything I thought I knew about family loyalty. Standing in my childhood home's kitchen 12 hours later, I wished I'd never shown up. "We're selling the house," Dad announced, his voice steady as if he were discussing the weather. "Caesar has an amazing business opportunity, and we're going to help him make it happen." The wooden spoon I'd been clutching, the same one I'd used to help Mom bake countless birthday cakes, clattered to the floor. "You're what?" Caesar leaned against the doorframe, that familiar smirk playing on his lips. "It's a game changer, sis. Premium coffee shops across the city. We're talking artisanal blends, prime locations." "Stop," I held up my hand. "You're selling our home, the house we grew up in, for coffee shops?" Mom stepped forward, her hands twisting her wedding ring like she always did when nervous. "Honey, we've discussed this thoroughly. Caesar has a solid business plan." "Solid?" I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "Like the food truck venture last year? Or the cryptocurrency investment that emptied his savings?" "That's not fair," Caesar pushed off the doorframe. "This is different. I've got investors lined up." "Who? The same guys who convinced you to sink 20 grand into that bogus real estate scheme?" "Zoe," Dad's voice carried that warning tone I remembered from childhood. "Your brother has matured. We believe in his vision." I turned to the window, staring at the maple tree I'd climbed countless times. The treehouse Dad built us still clung to its branches, weathered but standing. "What about my room, my dark room? All those photographs I've been storing here?" "We'll help you move everything," Mom offered quickly. "You can store them at your apartment." "My apartment that's barely big enough for me?" I spun around. "This house isn't just property, it's our history. The marks on the wall showing how tall we grew, the dent in the living room where Caesar crashed his skateboard, the garden where we buried Rusty." "It's just a house," Caesar said dismissively. "We need to think about the future, not cling to the past." Something snapped inside me. Just a house? This is where we learned to ride bikes, where we had every Christmas morning, where we held each other after Grandma died. But sure, let's trade all that for your latest get-rich-quick scheme. "Zoe," Mom reached for my arm, but I pulled away. "How much?" I demanded. "How much are you selling it for?" Dad cleared his throat. "The offer is $450. "I'll buy it," I said instantly. "I have savings. I can get a loan." "We've already accepted their offer," Dad cut me off. "The papers are signed." The room spun slightly. "You didn't even give me a chance? Your own daughter?" "Honey," Mom's voice cracked. "We didn't think—" "No, you didn't think. Not about me, anyway." I grabbed my purse from the counter. "When do the new owners take possession?" 30 days, Dad answered quietly. I nodded, fighting back tears. Perfect. Just enough time to watch another piece of my life get sacrificed for Caesar's dreams. "Don't be dramatic," Caesar rolled his eyes. "I'll make it up to you. When the business takes off—" "Save it," I snapped. "I don't want your promises or your overpriced coffee. I want my home." "Zoe, please," Mom called as I headed for the door. "Don't leave like this." I paused at the threshold, my hand on the doorknob. "You know what hurts the most? You didn't even ask me. Didn't consider how this would affect me. It's always been about Caesar, his needs, his dreams, his mistakes. Well, congratulations. You finally managed to sell the last piece of my childhood to fund another one of his fantasies." "That's not fair," Cesar protested. "Life's not fair," I replied, meeting his eyes. "But don't worry, big brother. I'm sure this time will be different. This time your brilliant plan will work out perfectly. And if it doesn't, well, there's always Mom and Dad's retirement fund to fall back on, right?" I walked out before they could respond, slamming the door behind me. In my car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white, fighting the urge to scream or cry or both. Through the windshield, I could see the house next door, old Mrs. Patterson's place. The for sale sign had gone up last week. An idea began to form in my mind. Maybe I couldn't save my childhood home, but I could do something else. something that would make them all understand exactly what they'd thrown away. I pulled out my phone and dialed my realtor's number. "Hey, Sarah, remember that property we discussed? The Patterson house? I want to make an offer. Today." "You did what?" Autumn nearly choked on her wine. We were sitting on my tiny apartment balcony, the evening air thick with summer heat and the weight of my decision. "I bought Mrs. Patterson's house," I repeated, swirling the red wine in my glass. "The offer was accepted this morning." "Okay." Autumn set her glass down carefully. "And you're planning to turn it into a women's retreat center? Just like that?" "Why not? It's perfect. 5 bedrooms, huge garden, that amazing sunroom." I leaned forward. "Plus, it's right next door to my family's house. Every time Caesar looks out his precious coffee shop window, he'll see what I built from scratch." "Girl," Autumn's eyes widened. "That's either brilliant or crazy, maybe both." My phone buzzed, another message from Mom. I ignored it, like I had the previous dozen. "You should see the property," I continued. "I'm meeting the inspector tomorrow. Want to come?" "Obviously. Someone needs to make sure you don't completely lose your mind." She paused. "Have you actually run the numbers on this?" I pulled out my laptop. "I've been working on nothing else for the past week. Look." As I showed her the spreadsheets, business plan, and market research, Autumn's skepticism slowly transformed into interest. "There's nothing like this in the area," I explained. "Women need a place to reset, to heal, to figure out their next steps. I can offer workshops, temporary housing, counseling services. Using your photography studio space," Autumn finished, catching on. "Art therapy." "Exactly." I closed the laptop. "I've already talked to 3 potential investors. They love the concept." The sliding door creaked open, and my neighbor Rachel poked her head out. "Sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help overhearing. Are you really starting a women's retreat?" "That's the plan." Rachel stepped onto the balcony. "My sister could have used something like that last year when she was going through her divorce. She ended up sleeping on my couch for 3 months because she had nowhere else to go." "See?" I gestured to Rachel. "This is exactly why—" My phone buzzed again, this time with Caesar's name flashing on the screen. I declined the call. "You'll have to talk to them eventually," Autumn said gently. "No, I really don't." I stood up and walked to the railing. "They made their choice. Now I'm making mine." Rachel cleared her throat. "Well, if you need any help with the retreat, I'm a licensed social worker. I'd love to be involved." I turned back, surprised. "Really?" "Absolutely. I can help set up support programs, maybe run some group sessions." The next morning, Autumn and I met the inspector at Mrs. Patterson's house. Standing in the grand entryway, with sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows, I felt a surge of certainty. "The bones are good," the inspector said, tapping the walls. "You'll need to update the electrical in the east wing, and the roof needs work, but overall—" A familiar voice cut through from outside. "Zoe, what are you doing here?" Caesar stood on the sidewalk, coffee cup in hand, staring up at the house. "Buying property," I called back. "Isn't that what our family does now?" He jogged up the front steps. "Come on, sis, don't be like this. Let's talk." "About what?" "How you convinced Mom and Dad to sell my childhood home for your latest scheme?" "It's not a scheme. I've got everything planned out. Look." He reached for his phone. "Save your pitch deck," I cut him off. "I'm busy with my own business plan." His eyes narrowed. "What business plan?" "You'll see soon enough." I turned to the inspector. "Shall we continue the tour?" "Zoe," Caesar grabbed my arm. "What are you up to?" I yanked free. "Creating something meaningful, something that actually helps people. But I wouldn't expect you to understand that concept." Autumn stepped between us. "I think you should leave, Caesar." He backed away, hands raised. "Fine, but this isn't over." "No," I agreed, watching him retreat down the walkway. "It's just beginning." Back inside, Autumn whistled low. "Well, that was intense." "Good," I said, running my hand along the vintage wallpaper. "I want him to worry. I want them all to see what they threw away." "Just remember," Autumn cautioned, "the best revenge is living well." I smiled, already envisioning the transformation this house would undergo. Trust me, I plan to live extremely well, and I'm going to help other women do the same. The inspector cleared his throat. Shall we check out the second floor? As we climbed the grand staircase, I could feel the house's potential humming through my fingers on the banister. This wasn't just about getting back at my family anymore. This was about creating something bigger than myself, something lasting. And if it happened to make Caesar and my parents uncomfortable in the process, well, that was just karma doing its work. The contractor just quit. I slumped onto a dust-covered chair in what would eventually be the retreat's main office. Said the electrical work is more complicated than he thought? Rachel looked up from the stack of permit applications spread across the floor. That's the third one this month. I know. I rubbed my temples, trying to ward off an approaching headache. The renovation was already 2 weeks behind schedule, and my savings were draining faster than expected. A knock on the front door echoed through the empty house. "We're closed," I called out, not in the mood for another nosy neighbor asking about construction noise. "I saw your sign outside," a voice responded. "About the women's retreat?" Rachel and I exchanged glances. I hadn't put up any sign yet. Curious, I walked to the door. A young woman stood on the porch, hugging herself despite the warm weather. Her eye makeup was smudged, and she carried a small duffel bag. "I'm Gemma," she said quickly, as if afraid I'd shut the door. "I know you're not open yet, but I saw the workers here, and I just really need a place to stay." "We're still under construction," I explained. "Nothing's ready. Please." Her voice cracked. "I can't go back to my apartment. He'll be waiting." The desperation in her eyes hit me like a physical force. I recognized that look, the same one I'd seen in the mirror countless times after my family's betrayal, but deeper, more urgent. "Come in," I heard myself say. "The kitchen's somewhat functional. We can at least make coffee." 20 minutes later, Gemma sat at our makeshift break table, hands wrapped around a steaming mug. "I left this morning while he was at work. 3 years of—" She trailed off. "I just couldn't do it anymore." Rachel, in full social worker mode, was already making calls to domestic violence shelters. I watched Gemma's hands trembling around the mug and made a decision. "The West Wing bedroom is finished," I said. "It's basic, but it has a bed and a working bathroom. You can stay there while we figure things out." Rachel shot me a warning look. "Zoe, we don't have the proper permits yet. Then we'll get them faster." I turned back to Gemma. No one should have to go back to a place that doesn't feel safe. Later that evening, as I was sorting through construction quotes, I heard voices outside. Through the window, I saw Caesar talking to one of the remaining contractors in the driveway. I stormed out. "What do you think you're doing?" Caesar spun around, all innocent smiles. "Just asking about the renovation timeline, trying to plan the coffee shop opening, you know? By interfering with my contractors?" "Interfering? I'm networking, sis. That's what successful business people do." "Get off my property." "Your property?" He laughed. "This whole thing is a joke. You don't know the first thing about running a business." "No?" I stepped closer. "At least I'm not burning through our parents' retirement fund on overpriced coffee beans." His smile faltered. "That's not—" "Leave. Now. And stop harassing my contractors." After he left, the contractor approached me awkwardly. "Look, maybe this job is more than we can handle. I'll pay you 15% above your quote," I said quickly. "Just please don't quit." He hesitated, then nodded. "Deal. But your brother mentioned some potential zoning issues." "I'll handle the zoning." I was already dialing Rachel's number as I walked back inside. I found Gemma in the kitchen, organizing our meager supply of dishes. "You don't have to do that," I said. "I want to help." She placed a mug in the cabinet. "This place, what you're doing here, it matters?" "My brother doesn't think so." I saw him outside. Gemma's voice hardened. "Men like that, they can't stand seeing women build something without them." I looked at her sharply. "You heard our conversation?" She nodded. "Reminded me of my ex. Always trying to tear down anything I was proud of." Something clicked in my mind. "Would you be interested in a job?" We need someone to coordinate with contractors, manage supplies. Really? Her eyes lit up. But I don't have experience. You have perspective. That's worth more. That night, reviewing budget spreadsheets in my apartment, I realized Gemma's arrival had shifted something. This wasn't just about getting back at my family anymore. It was about creating a space where women like Gemma could rebuild their lives. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Please call us. We're worried about you." I typed back, "Don't be. I'm finally building something that matters." Then I turned back to my spreadsheets, determination renewed. Let Caesar try his sabotage. He had no idea how strong women could be when they stood together. "There's a zoning board meeting tomorrow," Mom announced, appearing at my construction site unannounced. "Your father and I will be there to support Caesar's permit application." I kept hammering, pretending the nail I was driving into the new bookshelf was my frustration. "Of course you will." "Zoe, please. This feud has to end." She stepped closer, dodging a pile of lumber. "We're still family." "Family?" The hammer slipped, nearly catching my thumb. "Is that what you call selling my childhood home without even consulting me?" "The coffee shop will be amazing. Caesar's really thought it through this time." "Mrs. Foster?" Gemma appeared in the doorway. "The inspector's here for the electrical certification." Mom's eyes narrowed. "You already have people staying here? Without proper permits?" "She works here," I said firmly, "and our permits are in order." "Are they?" She pulled out her phone. "Because Caesar mentioned some concerns about—" "Stop." I set the hammer down hard. "Just stop. Caesar's concerns are nothing but attempts to sabotage my project because he's worried about competition." "Competition? This is a women's shelter." "It's a retreat center," I corrected. "And yes, competition. Because while he's selling overpriced lattes, I'll be actually helping people rebuild their lives." The inspector appeared behind Gemma, clipboard in hand. Mom took the hint and left, but not before saying, "We'll see you at the zoning meeting." The next day, I sat in the municipal building's stuffy meeting room, watching Caesar charm the zoning board with his polished presentation about revitalizing the neighborhood with his artisanal coffee empire. And as you can see, he gestured to his slides, the property's current residential zoning classification would be better served by converting to commercial use. I gripped my folder tighter, waiting for my turn. Mom and Dad sat in the front row, beaming at their golden boy. Finally, the board chairman called my name. I walked to the podium, spreading out my documentation. "Board members, I'm here to oppose the rezoning application and present my own proposal for the adjacent property." I met Caesar's startled gaze. "The neighborhood doesn't need another coffee shop. It needs a safe space for women in crisis." I detailed our plans: counseling services, temporary housing, job training programs. With each point, I saw the board members' interest grow. "Furthermore," I continued, "we've already secured partnerships with local mental health providers and employment agencies." "Excuse me," Caesar interrupted, "but my sister's project lacks proper licensing for residential facilities." "Actually," I pulled out a document, "we received our provisional license yesterday. Unlike some businesses, we did our homework before making promises." A murmur rippled through the room. Dad's smile had disappeared. The chairman cleared his throat. "Mr. Foster, your rezoning application could impact both properties. Given the circumstances, we'll need to review." "This is ridiculous!" Caesar stood up. "She's only doing this to spite me." "Spite?" I laughed. "You really think everything revolves around you, don't you?" "Children, please." Mom started to rise. "No, Mom. Let him speak." I turned to Caesar. "Tell everyone how you convinced our parents to sell our home for your latest get-rich-quick scheme. Tell them about the contractors you tried to poach, the rumors you've been spreading about our permits." "I was protecting our family's investment." Caesar's face reddened. "This neighborhood needs upgrading, not some depressing shelter." "It's not depressing," a voice called from the back. Gemma stood up, shoulders straight. "It's hope. When I left my abusive ex, Zoe's retreat gave me a chance to start over. How many lattes can do that?" Silence fell over the room. The chairman cleared his throat again. "Given the complexity of these proposals, we'll need time to review both applications." Meeting adjourned. Outside, Dad caught up to me. Zoe, this vendetta has gone too far. Vendetta? I shook my head. Look around, Dad. See those women? I pointed to where Gemma stood with two other retreat residents. They're why I'm doing this. Not everything is about Caesar. But the family made its choice. I stepped back. Now I'm making mine, and unlike Caesar's coffee shop dreams, I'm actually helping people. Mom appeared at his side. Honey, please, save it. I turned away. I'll see you at the next meeting. Bring your checkbook. Caesar might need more startup capital when this falls through. Walking to my car, I heard Gemma call out, "That was amazing!" I managed a smile, but my hands were shaking. Standing up to my family had cost more than I'd expected, but seeing their faces when Gemma spoke, that made it worth it. My phone buzzed with a text from Autumn. How'd it go? I typed back, war declared, battle lines drawn, but we're winning. Because this wasn't just about zoning anymore. This was about proving that sometimes the best revenge isn't just living well, it's living purposefully. Smile. The photographer from the local newspaper adjusted her camera. One more with the whole group. 3 months after the zoning battle, our retreat center was officially open. 20 women, including Gemma, gathered on the front steps. The renovated Victorian house gleamed behind us, its fresh paint and new sign catching the morning sun. This is surreal, Rachel whispered beside me. We're actually trending on social media. The article about our opening had gone viral overnight. Local woman transforms family drama into haven for abuse survivors. The headline alone had brought in dozens of inquiries. Ms. Foster? A reporter raised his hand. Your brother's coffee shop opens next door next week. Any comments? This isn't about my brother, I replied firmly. It's about these women and their stories, like Maria here, who's starting her own business after taking our entrepreneurship workshop. Maria stepped forward, beaming. The retreat gave me confidence to pursue my catering dreams. Next month, I'm cooking for my first corporate event. More questions followed, but movement across the street caught my eye. Mom stood on our old house's porch, watching. She'd aged somehow in these past months, her hair grayer, her shoulders more stooped. Excuse me, I said to the reporters. Gemma, could you handle the rest of the questions? Crossing the street felt like crossing an ocean. Mom didn't move as I approached. The house looks beautiful, she said quietly. You've done amazing work. Thanks. I stood awkwardly, hands in my pockets. How's Caesar's shop coming along? She hesitated. Having some supplier issues. The premium beans he ordered didn't arrive. Of course they didn't. Zoe, please. She turned to face me. I know we hurt you. But seeing what you've built here, maybe it was meant to be this way. Meant to be? I laughed. Mom, you sold my home without even talking to me. And look what you did with that pain. She gestured to the retreat. You turned it into something beautiful, something meaningful. Before I could respond, Gemma called from across the street. Zoe, the TV crew is here. TV crew? Mom's eyes widened. Local news, I explained. They're doing a feature on women-owned businesses in the area. That's wonderful. She paused. Caesar tried to get them interested in the coffee shop, but what? They said artisanal coffee wasn't newsworthy enough. I bit back a smile. I should go. Wait, Mom grabbed my arm. There's something you should know. Your father and we're worried about Caesar's finances. The shop's renovations cost more than expected and... Stop. I held up my hand. I don't want to know. Whatever hole he's dug himself into, it's not my problem. Back at the retreat, the TV crew was setting up in our newly finished community room. Women gathered around, sharing stories of how they'd found us. The photography classes helped me see beauty again, one said into the microphone. I learned to trust myself here, added another. Gemma, now our official program coordinator, organized everyone for the segment. Zoe, they want to interview you last. Something about saving the best for final cut. The reporter, a sharp-eyed woman named Diana, sat across from me. Your story is compelling, she said. Converting family conflict into community support. Mind if we dig deeper? Actually, I do. I straightened my shoulders. The conflict that led me here isn't the story. These women are. Their resilience, their courage to start over. That's what matters. Diana smiled. Even better, tell me about them. For the next hour, I shared our success stories. The domestic violence survivor who became a counselor, the divorced mother who started her own online business, the elderly woman who found community after losing her husband. One last question, Diana said. Your brother's coffee shop opens next door soon. Any message for him? I looked out the window at our old house, at Mom still standing on the porch. Just this. Sometimes losing what you thought you needed leads you to what you were meant to do all along. After the crews left, Gemma brought me coffee, not from an artisanal shop, but our simple kitchen machine. The waiting list is up to 30 women now, she said. We might need to think about expanding. Expanding? I nearly choked on my coffee. The property 2 doors down just went up for sale. Her eyes sparkled. Just saying. I watched the sunset paint our retreat in golden light, thinking about Mom's words. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was meant to be. My phone buzzed, a text from Autumn. Just saw the news crew. You're going to be famous. I typed back, not me, the retreat, the women, their stories. Because that's what mattered now. Not revenge, not family drama, but the lives we were helping rebuild, one day at a time. Though I had to admit, the fact that we were thriving while Caesar struggled did feel a little like karma. The pounding on my door at 2 a.m. could only mean trouble. I opened it to find Dad, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Caesar's in trouble, he said without preamble. Big trouble. When isn't he? I started to close the door, but Dad's next words froze me. He used the coffee shop as collateral for a loan, a high-interest loan from people you don't want to owe money to. Of course he did. I leaned against the doorframe. How much? 200,000. The number hit like a physical blow. Tell me you and Mom didn't co-sign. His silence was answer enough. Jesus, Dad. I ran my hands through my hair. The house money wasn't enough? You had to risk everything else too? He had a plan. He always has a plan, I was shouting now, not caring about my neighbors. And you always fall for it. The suppliers backed out, Dad continued. The equipment costs doubled. He got desperate. And now what? You want me to help clean up his mess? Again? A text lit up my phone. Gemma. Emergency at the retreat. Pipe burst in the east wing. I have to go, I told Dad. Real problems to solve. Zoe, please. These aren't nice people he borrowed from. They're coming tomorrow for their first payment. Then he better start brewing a lot of coffee. At the retreat, water was pouring through the ceiling. Gemma and 3 residents were already moving furniture, while Rachel coordinated with an emergency plumber on the phone. Second floor bathroom, Gemma explained, handing me a bucket. The plumber's on his way. We worked through the night, salvaging what we could. By dawn, the leak was fixed, but the damage was extensive. Insurance should cover it, Rachel said, surveying the wet walls. But we'll need to relocate the women in those rooms temporarily. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Calls from Mom, texts from Dad. Finally, one from Caesar. I screwed up. Bad. Please help. Everything okay? Gemma asked, noticing my expression. Family drama. I showed her the text. Caesar got involved with loan sharks. Shit. She whistled low. What are you going to do? Nothing. He made his bed. Zoe! Mom's voice rang through the retreat's front hall. She hurried in, mascara streaked down her face. They're at the coffee shop, right now. They're taking everything. I followed her next door. Through the coffee shop's windows, I could see men in dark suits removing equipment while Caesar argued frantically. You can't do this, he was saying as we entered. I just need more time. Time's up, one of the men said calmly. Should have read the contract better. I'll call the police, Mom threatened. Go ahead. The man smiled. Show them the loan documents you all signed. I watched my brother's dream being dismantled piece by piece. Part of me felt satisfaction, karma finally catching up. But another part remembered the little boy who used to protect me from playground bullies. Wait, I heard myself say. What would it take to stop this, right now? The man turned. First payment's 50 grand. Due now. I can have it in an hour, I said, if you leave the equipment. Everyone stared at me. Sis, Cesar's voice cracked. You don't have to— Shut up, I turned to the man. Deal? He nodded. 1 hour. At the bank, withdrawing nearly half my emergency fund, Cesar wouldn't look at me. This is a loan, I said firmly, with real paperwork and legal terms. You'll pay me back every cent. I know. He swallowed hard. I don't deserve— No, you don't. But Mom and Dad don't deserve to lose everything because of you, again. The coffee shop's failing anyway, he admitted. Even with all the equipment, I can't compete with the chains. Then sell it. Pay off your debts. Get a real job. Back at the retreat, Gemma was organizing a cleanup crew for the water damage. She took one look at my face and pulled me aside. You helped him, didn't you? I nodded. After everything he did? I didn't do it for him. I watched the women working together, supporting each other. I did it because that's what we're about here, helping people find better ways forward, even if those people sometimes don't deserve it. You're a better person than me, Gemma said. No, I smiled tiredly, just finally learning the difference between revenge and redemption. My phone buzzed, a message from Mom. Thank you for everything. I didn't respond. Some wounds were still too fresh, some bridges still too fragile. But maybe, just maybe, this was a start toward something new. Come on, Gemma tugged my arm. These walls won't dry themselves. And so I turned back to the work that mattered, leaving Cesar to figure out his own path forward. For once, I had nothing left to prove. The Governor's Office of Women's Initiatives wants to use our retreat as a model for the state program, Rachel announced, bursting into my office. They're sending a representative next week. 6 months after the coffee shop disaster, our retreat had become more successful than I'd ever imagined. Cesar had sold his failed business to a local restaurant group, and now I sat watching moving trucks pack up the last of his equipment. Earth to Zoe? Rachel waved her hand in front of my face. Did you hear what I said? State funding. Sorry, yes. I turned back to my desk. It's just weird, watching them dismantle everything he worked for. You mean everything he stole from your childhood home for? Yeah. I stood up. Speaking of which, where are we on the expansion plans? Rachel spread out blueprints across my desk. The bank approved our loan yesterday. We can start renovations on the new property next month. The front door chime rang, and Gemma's voice carried up the stairs. Zoe, your mother's here! Mom stood in the entrance hall, clutching her purse like a shield. The moving trucks. She gestured next door. I just couldn't watch. He's fine, Mom. The restaurant group hired him as a manager. I know. She looked around the retreat's newly renovated interior. This place— It's amazing, honey. The women I see coming and going, their faces when they leave. You've created something special. Thanks. I hesitated. Would you like a tour? We've made some changes since you were here last. As we walked through the house, Mom stopped at our wall of success stories, photos of women who'd graduated from our program, starting new lives. Is that Maria? She pointed to a picture of our former resident cutting a ribbon at her new catering business. She's handling all our event food now, I said proudly, and teaching cooking classes twice a week. Zoe, Gemma called from the office. The local business association is on the phone. They want you to speak at their annual dinner. Mom smiled. You're becoming quite the celebrity. Not me. The retreat. The women. I paused at the window overlooking our garden, where residents were tending the vegetable beds. Everything that happened, losing the house, Caesar's schemes, it led to this, to helping people find their strength. I'm sorry, Mom said suddenly, for not seeing it sooner. Your father and I, we were so focused on helping Caesar that we couldn't see how much we were hurting you. Mom. No, let me finish. She touched my arm. Watching you build this place, seeing the lives you're changing, you're the strong one. You always were. The front door chimed again. Caesar walked in looking different in his restaurant manager uniform. Hey, he said awkwardly. Last of the equipment's gone. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. First payment, as promised. I took the envelope. You're really doing it? working a regular job? Turns out I'm pretty good at managing other people's businesses. He attempted a smile. Better than running my own anyway. Caesar's been volunteering with our job training program, Gemma added, appearing with a stack of files. Teaching business basics, what not to do. Really? I looked at my brother with new eyes. Figured I owed you more than just money. He shrugged. These women, their stories, it puts things in perspective, you know? The doorbell chimed once more. Diana, the TV reporter, strode in with a camera crew. Ready for the follow-up piece? She asked. The local success story expands statewide angle is gold. Actually, I said, I have a better story. About redemption, family, and finding purpose in unexpected places. I looked at Mom and Caesar. Would you like to be part of it? The resulting segment went viral faster than the first. Family Feud transforms into community victory became our new narrative. Footage of Caesar teaching business classes, Mom organizing fundraisers, and our expanding programs painted a picture of healing that resonated far beyond our local community. That evening, standing in the garden with Autumn, I watched the sunset paint the old Victorian in golden light. Did you ever imagine this? She asked. When you first bought the place? Never. I smiled as a group of residents walked past, laughing together. I wanted revenge. Instead, I found purpose. And now you're changing lives. We're changing lives, I corrected. All of us. My phone buzzed. An email from the governor's office confirming their visit. Below it, a text from Dad. Proud of you, sweetheart. Always have been. I looked at our retreat, then at my old home next door. The pain of losing it had faded, replaced by something stronger. The knowledge that sometimes our greatest losses lead to our most important discoveries. Come on, I told Autumn. We've got work to do. Because this wasn't just my story anymore. It belonged to every woman who walked through our doors, seeking a new beginning. And somehow, that was better than any revenge I could have planned. Ready? Gemma stood beside me at the front door of my childhood home. Through the window, I could see my family gathered in the living room. Not really. I gripped the small box in my hands tighter. But it's time. Inside, Mom was arranging cookies on a plate while Dad and Caesar hung a congratulations banner. The governor's award for community excellence sat on the mantel, right where my childhood photos used to be. There's our woman of the hour, Dad called out. The banner's crooked, I said, trying to steady my voice. Some things never change, Mom laughed. Remember when we hung your graduation banner? I remember. I set the box on the coffee table. That's actually why I wanted everyone here today. Autumn slipped in behind us, camera ready. She'd been documenting the retreat's journey from the start. Before we celebrate the award, I began, I need to return something. I opened the box, revealing a stack of old photographs. These are all the pictures I took from the house before you sold it. I've been holding on to them like weapons. Caesar shifted uncomfortably. Sis. Let me finish. I pulled out the first photo. All of us at the beach, much younger, much happier. I've been so angry about losing this house that I forgot what made it special wasn't the building. It was us, even when we were mess. Mom wiped her eyes. We were quite a mess, weren't we? Still are, I smiled. But different now. I handed each of them a photo. To Mom, the picture of us baking Christmas cookies. To Dad, the one of him building our treehouse. To Cesar, a shot of him teaching me to ride a bike. The retreat taught me something, I continued. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means building something new from what's left. Speaking of building, Gemma interjected, right on cue. Should we tell them? I nodded. The state funding came through. We're opening 3 new retreat locations. 3? Caesar's eyes widened. That's amazing. And I took a deep breath. We want to use the old coffee shop space for our first youth center. For teenage girls who need support before crisis hits. The room fell silent. The coffee shop space, still owned by our parents, had been sitting empty since Caesar's business failed. It's yours, Dad said immediately. No. I shook my head. Not given, bought. Properly this time. I have the paperwork ready. Mom started to protest, but I held up my hand. This needs to be business, not family. We've learned that lesson, right? Caesar laughed. Yeah, the hard way. But, I added, I would like my family involved. Mom, your fundraising skills are incredible. Dad, we need someone to oversee the renovation. And Caesar, let me guess, business classes on what not to do. Actually, we need a proper operations manager, someone who's learned from their mistakes and knows how to help others avoid them. His jaw dropped. Are you serious? Professional salary, benefits, the works. Rachel's drawn up a contract. I met his eyes. Think you can handle working for your little sister? I'd be honored. His voice cracked slightly. Autumn snapped pictures as we hugged, capturing the moment our family's healing became official. Later, standing in what would become the youth center, I found the old height marks on the wall, still visible under layers of paint. My fingers traced the notches, Caesar's growth spurts, my steady climb. Keep them, Mom said behind me. Let the girls add their own marks, show them how growth happens slowly, but it happens. Like us? She hugged me. Like us. Outside, the retreat's lights glowed warmly in the dusk. Women moved between buildings, carrying books, laptops, dreams. In the garden, a new resident was crying on Gemma's shoulder while Rachel sat nearby, ready to help plan next steps. You did it, Autumn said, reviewing her photos. You turned pain into purpose. We did it, I corrected. All of us. My phone buzzed. Another girl seeking shelter. Another story waiting to be rewritten. As I read the message, I realized something. The house I'd fought so hard to save had given me something far more valuable than memories. It had given me a mission. Ready to change another life? Gemma called out. Always, I replied, heading back to the retreat. Behind me, my family began planning the youth center renovation, their voices mixing with the sounds of women rebuilding their lives. This wasn't the revenge I'd planned. It was better. Because sometimes the best way to heal old wounds isn't to get even, but to get better. To build something so beautiful from the ashes of what was lost that even those who hurt you want to be part of it. And that's a victory sweeter than any revenge could ever be.
The eviction notice trembled in my hands as I stared at my husband's signature scrawled across the bottom. Not a copy, his actual signature in blue ink, as casual as if he were signing a birthday card. My house keys didn't work anymore. The locks had been changed. I'm Holly, and this was how I discovered my husband of 8 years had sold our home without telling me. Gordon? I called out, my voice echoing through our, no, not our anymore, front porch. The spare key under the potted plant was gone too. Through the window, I could see my suitcase sitting in the middle of the empty living room floor. My phone buzzed. A text from Gordon. Had to make an executive decision, honey. Market was too good to pass up. Your things are packed. The new owners move in next week. I read it 3 times, each time feeling the rage build higher in my chest. Executive decision? Like I was some employee he could steamroll? With shaking fingers, I called my sister Annabelle. Come get me, I managed to say when she answered. Gordon sold the house. He what? Annabelle's voice shot up an octave. Without telling you? There's an eviction notice. My suitcase is inside. I can't even get to it. I'm coming right now. Don't move. 20 minutes later, Annabelle's beat-up Subaru pulled into the driveway. Her partner Maya was with her, thank God. While Annabelle hugged me, Maya, who worked as a locksmith, assessed the new locks. Standard deadbolt, Maya said. Give me 5 minutes. Is this even legal? Annabelle asked, still holding me. Does it matter? He did it anyway. I wiped my eyes, refusing to cry. 8 years, Belle. 8 years, and he doesn't even have the decency to discuss it with me? Maya had the door open in 3 minutes flat. The house echoed emptily as we stepped inside. Most of the furniture was gone. My suitcase sat in the middle of the floor like a sacrifice with a note taped to it. Honey, I read aloud, I know you'll be upset, but this is for the best. The market's hot and we made a killing. I've moved most of our things to storage. Take what you need for now. We'll talk tonight. Love, G. For the best? Annabelle snatched the note from my hands. The audacity of this man. I opened the suitcase. He'd packed some of my clothes. All wrong, of course. No underwear, no toiletries, just random dresses and pants thrown together. You're staying with us. Maya said firmly. No discussion. My phone buzzed again. Gordon, don't be dramatic about this. It's just business. Just business, I repeated, showing them the text. Our home is just business. Call Camila, Annabelle suggested, referring to my best friend. She works in real estate. She'll know if this is even legal. I nodded, but before I could dial, another text came through. This one from Xavier, Gordon's childhood friend. Hey Holly, Gordon told me about the house. Great deal, right? You must be thrilled. That's when it hit me. Xavier knew before I did. Gordon had told his friend about selling our house, but hadn't bothered to tell his own wife. I need to get some things, I said, heading upstairs. The master bedroom was stripped bare except for a few boxes labeled Holly's stuff in Gordon's hasty scrawl. As I grabbed what I actually needed, I found our wedding photo still hanging on the wall. Gordon's smile looked different now. Not loving, but smug. Like he'd won something. Found this in the kitchen, Maya called up. She appeared in the doorway holding a stack of papers. Looks like closing documents. They're dated 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. He'd been sitting on this for 3 weeks, watching me water the garden, paint the guest room, plan our future in a house he'd already sold. Holly, Annabelle said softly, what are you going to do? I took one last look at our wedding photo, then carefully took it off the wall. The frame came apart easily in my hands. Behind our smiling faces, I found what I was looking for, a USB drive Gordon thought I didn't know about. He'd hidden it there 2 years ago, thinking he was so clever. First, I said, pocketing the drive, I'm going to call Camila, then I'm calling Turner. Turner? The lawyer? Annabelle raised an eyebrow. Gordon wants to talk business? I grabbed my properly packed bag and headed for the door. Let's talk business. As we pulled away from the house, my phone buzzed one final time. Gordon again. Don't forget, dinner at 7. We'll discuss the new arrangement. I turned off my phone. Gordon had no idea what kind of arrangement was coming. He's been siphoning money for months, Camila said, scrolling through my banking app. We sat at her kitchen table, laptops open and papers spread everywhere. Look at these transfers. Small amounts, but frequent. Always just under 5,000 to avoid flags. My hands clenched around my coffee mug. Where was it going? An account I can't access. She pointed to a recurring transfer label. But whatever BGI Holdings is, it's been getting regular payments since January. 3 hours had passed since I'd left my former home. Annabelle and Maya had dropped me at Camila's, knowing she'd know exactly what to do. They weren't wrong. My phone, now turned back on, showed 15 missed calls from Gordon. I ignored them all. Turner will be here in 20 minutes, Camila said, checking her watch. He's bringing the property records. I still can't believe Gordon knew Xavier knew before me, I said, pulling up the text messages. They were probably laughing about it. Camila's face darkened. Speaking of Xavier, she turned her laptop toward me. Look who owns BGI Holdings. There it was, Xavier's name, clear as day, listed as the primary owner. My phone buzzed again. Gordon, where are you? We need to talk about this like adults. Like adults? I scoffed. Where was this adult conversation when he was selling our house? The doorbell rang. Turner arrived with a briefcase and a grim expression. Holly, he said, sitting down, I've reviewed the sale documents. There's good news and bad news. Bad news first, I said. The sale is legal. Gordon had the right to sell because the house was only in his name. What? I nearly knocked over my coffee. That's impossible. We bought it together. Check your closing documents from the purchase, Turner said. I pulled out the USB drive I'd taken from behind our wedding photo. Gordon wasn't the only one who could be clever. I'd been making copies of important documents for years, just in case. As I scrolled through the files, my stomach dropped. The deed only listed Gordon as the owner. But I paid half the down payment, I said. I have proof. It's right here. I pulled up the transfer records. That's the good news, Turner said, leaning forward. You've maintained excellent records. Every contribution you've made is documented. That gives us leverage. Leverage for what? A lawsuit, Camila cut in. He sold your home without consent while taking your money under false pretenses. My phone buzzed yet again. This time it was Xavier. Gordon's worried sick. Just come home and work this out. Home? I laughed bitterly. What home? Turner pulled out more papers. There's something else you should see. The sale price of your house. It's well below market value, almost suspiciously so. Camila grabbed the papers. He sold a $750,000 house for $600,000 in this market? That makes no sense unless there's something we're not seeing, Turner finished. I remembered the USB drive. Wait, I dug deeper into the files, finding a folder labeled Taxes 2022. Look at this, an LLC Gordon created last year, and look who else is on it. Xavier's name appeared again, along with 3 other names I didn't recognize. Call up the property records for that buyer, Camila said suddenly. The one who bought your house. Turner typed quickly on his laptop. The buyer is Riverview Properties LLC, registered 6 months ago. Check the owners, I said, already knowing what we'd find. Sure enough, Riverview Properties LLC was owned by the same people in Gordon's LLC. They're flipping it, Camila said, her real estate experience kicking in. Buy low through a shell company, renovate, sell high. The profit stays hidden in the LLC, away from me, I finished, in case of divorce. My phone buzzed one last time. Gordon. This silent treatment is childish. I'm trying to build a future for us. I stood up, a strange calm settling over me. Turner, what exactly do you need to build a case? Bank records, proof of contribution, evidence of deliberate deception? He gestured at the spread of documents before us, which you seem to have in spades. And how long should I wait to respond to Gordon? Camila and Turner exchanged looks. Give me 48 hours, Turner said. Don't tell him anything. Don't meet him. Don't respond. Let him think you're too emotional to think straight. I nodded, picking up my phone. One last message appeared, from Maya. Remember, the best revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served when they least expect it. I turned my phone off again and looked at Turner. Let's talk about what happens next. Every deposit, every transfer, every contribution you've made to joint expenses, Turner said, organizing files on his desk. It's all here, going back 10 years. I'd spent the last 2 days holed up in Turner's office, piecing together my financial history. Camila sat beside me, taking notes and highlighting patterns we'd found. Look at this, Camila pointed to a spreadsheet. You paid for the kitchen renovation last year, $40,000 from your inheritance, which mysteriously increased the house's value by $90,000, Turner added. Money that Gordon and his friends will now pocket. My phone lit up with another message from Gordon. 3 days of silence. Real mature, Holly. I'm starting to lose my patience. He's getting nervous, Camila observed. Good. A knock at the door interrupted us. Maya walked in, carrying a stack of papers. You were right about the renovation company, she said, dropping the documents on Turner's desk. It's owned by one of the LLC partners. They've been flipping houses all over town using the same scheme. I flipped through the papers. These are all recent sales? Last 18 months, Maya confirmed. They buy low through shell companies, renovate using their own company, then sell high through different shells. The profits never touch personal accounts. Turner leaned back, a slight smile playing on his lips. This is better than we hoped. It's not just your house, it's a pattern. My phone buzzed again, this time from Annabelle. Gordon just showed up at my place looking for you. I told him to get lost. Also, you need to see what Xavier's wife just posted on Facebook. I pulled up the post. There it was, Xavier's wife showing off their new vacation home in Aspen, the same week my house had been sold. That's interesting timing, Camila said, looking over my shoulder. Wonder where that down payment came from. Turner was already typing. Property records show. Would you look at that? Purchased through BGI Holdings. The same company getting those regular transfers from Gordon, I said quietly. Maya sat down next to me. Holly, I know this is overwhelming, but you need to hear something. She pulled out her phone and played a voice message from Gordon. Maya, I know you and Annabelle are hiding her. Gordon's voice filled the room. Just tell Holly she's being ridiculous. This is business. The house was in my name. I had every right. She needs to understand her place in this marriage. My hands stopped shaking. Something inside me hardened. My place? I repeated. Let me show him my place. Turner pulled out a fresh legal pad. Here's what we're going to do. First, we file an emergency injunction to freeze the sale proceeds. Then, we go after the LLC for fraud. Won't that tip our hand? Camila asked. No, Turner smiled, because Holly here has something they don't know about. I pulled out the USB drive. Gordon's private records, everything he thought was safely hidden behind our wedding photo. Including emails between him and Xavier discussing this scheme going back 2 years, Maya added. Another message from Gordon. I'm giving you until tomorrow to come home and discuss this reasonably. After that, things will have to change. Things will change all right, I muttered. Turner handed me a document. Sign here. This gives us permission to subpoena all the LLC records. As I signed, Camila's phone pinged. She read the message and let out a low whistle. What? I asked. Remember that real estate agent I called? She just sent over Gordon's showing appointments from last month. Guess who was looking at penthouses downtown? I didn't need to guess. Gordon had been planning his exit strategy for months. Maya put her hand on my shoulder. Holly, whatever you decide to do next, we're all behind you. Turner, I said, straightening in my chair. How long until everything's ready? Give me till Friday, then we can move. I nodded, picking up my phone. One new message waited, from Xavier's wife. Holly, we need to talk. There's something you should know about Gordon and Xavier's business trips to Aspen. Friday it is, I said, looking at Turner. Time to show Gordon exactly what my place is in this marriage. Camila grinned. Should we tell him you're coming? No, I replied, finally allowing myself a small smile. Let's make it a surprise. After all, he loves making executive decisions without consulting me. Let's see how he likes it when the tables are turned. Turner gathered the documents into his briefcase. Remember, not a word to anyone. Let them think you're still too emotional to function. The element of surprise is our biggest advantage. I looked at my phone one last time before turning it off. Gordon's last message glowed on the screen. I hope you're using this time to think about your behavior. Oh, I was thinking all right. Just not the way he imagined. You're late, Gordon snapped as I slid into my seat at his favorite restaurant. 5 days of silence had clearly worn on him. His usual perfectly pressed shirt was wrinkled, his hair unkempt. Traffic, I murmured, playing the part of the chastised wife. Across the restaurant, Camila sat at the bar, pretending to read a book while keeping watch. I ordered for you already, Gordon said, his tone softening slightly. Your usual salmon? Of course he had. Heaven forbid I make my own choices. Where have you been staying? He asked, trying to sound casual. I shrugged, examining my menu despite his already ordering. Around? This silent treatment is beneath you, Holly. I've been trying to reach you for days. The waiter arrived with our drinks. I noticed Gordon had ordered me white wine, though I'd switched to red months ago, another detail he'd never bothered to notice. How's Xavier? I asked innocently. Enjoying his new place in Aspen? Gordon's hand tightened around his whiskey glass. What does that have to do with anything? Just making conversation. Isn't that what you wanted? To talk? Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Turner. Done. All accounts frozen. I took a sip of the wine I didn't want, watching Gordon over the rim of my glass. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Then again. And again. Excuse me, he said, pulling it out. I watched his face change as he read the messages. I need to make a call. The moment he stepped away, Camila slid into his seat. Xavier's blowing up his phone, she whispered. Turner's injunction just hit. They can't access any of the LLC accounts. How long until he realizes about the other accounts? Minutes, maybe seconds. Gordon returned, his face pale. Holly, I need to handle something. We'll have to do this another time. But you ordered my salmon, I said, widening my eyes. And we haven't even talked about the house yet. His phone buzzed again. This time, he answered it at the table. What do you mean, frozen? He hissed into the phone. How can they all be frozen? I could hear Xavier's panicked voice on the other end. Check the backup account, Gordon snapped. Then, what do you mean it's empty? That's impossible. I pulled out my own phone, opening my banking app. Oh, honey, I said softly. Is something wrong with the accounts? His head snapped up, eyes narrowing. What did you do? Me? I'm just a wife who doesn't understand business, remember? The waiter appeared with our food. The salmon for the lady? She's not staying, Gordon growled. Actually, I said, smoothing my napkin, I think I am. You did order for me, after all. His phone buzzed yet again. This time it was a text from his bank. I knew exactly what it said. The same message I'd received an hour ago when I'd transferred every penny from our joint accounts. Holly, he said, his voice dangerously low. What have you done? Made an executive decision, I replied, cutting into my salmon. The market was too good to pass up. You can't do this. Really? The accounts were in my name too, unlike the house. The color drained from his face. How did you know about that? Or about BGI Holdings? Or about the shell companies? I took another bite of salmon. It's actually quite good. You always did know what I liked. Well, except for the wine. His phone kept buzzing. Messages from Xavier, from their other partners, from their banks. This is illegal, he sputtered. Camila appeared at our table again, this time with Turner. Actually, Turner said, placing a thick envelope on the table, everything she's done is perfectly legal, unlike, say, using shell companies to hide assets from your spouse, or fraudulently using someone's inheritance money for personal gain. Gordon's face went from white to red. You brought a lawyer to dinner? Well, you brought Xavier into our marriage, I countered. Fair is fair. Mrs. McDonald, Turner said formally, shall we proceed with filing the divorce papers? Divorce? Gordon choked. Holly, be reasonable. I stood up, finally meeting his eyes. I am being reasonable. In fact, I'm being business-minded. Isn't that what you wanted? You'll regret this, Gordon threatened. No, I said, picking up my purse. I regret not doing it sooner. Oh, and Gordon, the salmon really was excellent. You should try it. I already paid for it, with what's left of your credit card. As I walked out with Turner and Camila, I heard Gordon's phone buzz one final time, a message from Xavier's wife. We need to talk about the women you brought to Aspen. The night wasn't over yet. They're scrambling, Camila said, scrolling through her phone. We sat in Turner's office the next morning, watching the aftermath unfold. Xavier's wife is posting cryptic messages about trust and betrayal. She's tagged every partner's wife in them. The LLC's lawyer has been trying to reach me since dawn, Turner added, checking his messages. They're offering to negotiate. I sipped my coffee, feeling strangely calm. Too late for that. My phone lit up with a text from Maya. Gordon just tried to get into your old house. The new owners called the police. He's unraveling, Annabelle said from her perch on Turner's windowsill. Good. Another message popped up, this one from Xavier's wife, Jessica. Holly, I'm ready to talk. Meet me at Riverside Cafe in an hour? I showed the message to Turner, who nodded. Go, but wear this. He handed me a small recording device, just in case. The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Jessica sat in a corner booth, looking nothing like her perfectly polished Facebook photos. Her eyes were red, her designer handbag clutched tight against her chest. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down. I should have told you sooner. Told me what? She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. I found these last month. Didn't know what to do with them. She slid the phone across the table. Photos filled the screen. Gordon and Xavier at various locations, always with different women. The timestamps matched their supposed business trips. There's more, Jessica said, her voice breaking. The houses weren't just for flipping, they were party houses, I finished, the pieces clicking into place. That's why they sold below market value. They needed places that couldn't be traced back to them. She nodded. The women, some of them were escorts, expensive ones, paid through BGI Holdings, I said. That's what the regular transfers were for. My phone buzzed. A message from Gordon. Whatever Jessica tells you is a lie. She's unstable. Don't trust her. I showed Jessica the text. She laughed bitterly. Unstable? I have bank statements, Holly, receipts, hotel bookings, everything. Would you be willing to show those to my lawyer? I'll do better than that. She pulled out a USB drive. I'll give them to you. Xavier doesn't know I made copies. Just then, both our phones buzzed simultaneously. A group message from Xavier to several numbers. Emergency meeting at the office. Everyone needs to be there. No exceptions. He's panicking, Jessica said. They all are. The wives are talking to each other now, comparing notes. I stood up. Come with me to Turner's office. We need to move fast. Back at Turner's, the pieces fell into place rapidly. Jessica's evidence, combined with what we already had, painted a picture far darker than simple real estate fraud. This changes everything, Turner said, reviewing the files. We're not just looking at civil charges anymore. This is criminal territory. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Messages from Gordon grew increasingly desperate. Holly, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Think about what you're doing to our family. I can explain everything. Camila, who'd been quiet, suddenly sat up straight. Look at this, she said, pointing to her laptop. They're trying to transfer the house again, to another shell company. They can't, Turner said. The injunction. They're trying anyway. Desperate men do desperate things. As if on cue, Annabelle burst into the office. Gordon's at the house again. The owner's called. He's trying to break in. Turner was already dialing. I'm calling the police. This ends now. I picked up my phone, finally responding to Gordon's messages. Stop trying to enter the house. It's not yours anymore. Just like I'm not yours anymore. His reply came instantly. You have no idea what you're doing. You're ruining everything we built. No, I typed back. I'm exposing what you built. There's a difference. Jessica touched my arm. There's one more thing you should know. She pulled up another photo on her phone. It showed Gordon with a young woman entering a jewelry store. This was last week, right after he sold your house. The woman wore the same dress I'd once admired in a shop window. Gordon had called it tacky then, said it wasn't my style. Send it to me, I said quietly. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Xavier. Holly, whatever Gordon's done, we can work this out. Name your price. I looked at Turner. They're offering a buyout. He smiled grimly. They don't understand, do they? This isn't about money anymore. No, I agreed, standing up. It's about justice, and it's time they learned the difference. Jessica straightened in her chair. What's next? I checked my watch. Their emergency meeting starts in an hour. Should we show up uninvited? Turner gathered his files. Let's give them a meeting they'll never forget. The elevator doors opened to the 12th floor of Xavier's office building. Gordon's voice echoed down the hallway, sharp with panic. What do you mean you can't reverse it? He shouted. Call them again. I walked toward the conference room, Turner and Jessica flanking me, Camila bringing up the rear. Through the glass walls, I could see Gordon pacing while Xavier sat with his head in his hands. 3 other men, their business partners, huddled around a laptop. Ready? Turner whispered. I pushed open the door. Hope we're not interrupting. The room fell silent. Gordon froze mid-stride. Holly, Xavier recovered first, standing up. This is a private meeting. Private like the houses? Jessica stepped forward. Or private like the escorts? Xavier's face went ash white. Jess, what are you— Sit down, Turner commanded, his voice cutting through the tension. All of you, now. The men exchanged glances but complied. Gordon remained standing. You can't be here, he said, but his voice wavered. I pulled out a chair at the head of the table. Actually, I can. You see, I'm now a majority stakeholder in BGI Holdings. That's impossible, one of the partners sputtered. Check your phones, Camila suggested sweetly. They did. The color drained from their faces as they saw the notifications. How? Gordon demanded. Remember that emergency fund you kept in the Cayman account? I smiled. The one you thought I didn't know about? Turns out, having my name on the account meant I could use it to buy shares. A lot of shares. You can't do this, Xavier said. She already has, Turner interjected, dropping a thick folder on the table, along with providing evidence of fraud, money laundering, and several other interesting activities to the relevant authorities. Gordon lunged for the folder. I pulled it back. I said. You might want to see this first. I nodded to Camila, who started playing a video on the conference room screen. Security footage appeared, showing Gordon and Xavier entering various properties with different women. The timestamps matched Jessica's photos perfectly. We have hundreds of hours of this, I said quietly. From every house you've flipped. Holly, Gordon's voice turned pleading. Whatever you think this is, save it, Jessica cut in. I already told her everything. About the houses, the women, the parties. All of it. Xavier slumped in his chair. Jess, please. The FBI is very interested in your business model, Turner continued, his tone conversational. Particularly the part about using real estate transactions to launder money for your little side business. The other partners started whispering frantically among themselves. You have 2 options, I said, standing up. Option 1, we turn everything over to the authorities. You all face charges. Your other properties get seized. Your wives find out exactly what kind of business meetings you've been having. Option 2, one of the partners asked weakly. You sign everything over. The properties, the companies, all of it. Walk away with enough to start over, but not enough to maintain your current lifestyles. That's blackmail, Gordon snarled. No, Turner corrected. It's negotiation. Your specialty, isn't it? My phone buzzed. A message from Annabelle. Police just arrested Gordon's friend trying to break into the house again. Want me to press charges? I showed the message to Gordon. Sending friends to do your dirty work now? You're bluffing, Xavier said suddenly. You wouldn't risk losing everything in a legal battle. I pulled out one final document. Remember that prenup you made me sign, Gordon? The one that said I get nothing if I'm unfaithful? I slid the paper across the table. Turns out it works both ways. And unlike you, I have proof. Gordon grabbed the paper, his hands shaking as he read. You have 1 hour to decide, Turner announced. After that, we go to the authorities. You'd destroy everything? Gordon asked, his voice barely a whisper. Just for revenge? I leaned across the table. No, honey, I'm just making an executive decision. The market for justice is too good to pass up. As we turned to leave, Jessica stood up. I'm going with them, she told Xavier. The divorce papers will be filed today. Jess, wait. Oh, I paused at the door. Gordon? That young woman you bought the diamond bracelet for last week? The one in the red dress? I smiled sweetly. She works for us. Consider the photo she took our insurance policy. The last thing I saw as the door closed was Gordon's face crumpling as he realized just how completely he'd been outplayed. In the elevator, Camila checked her watch. 59 minutes until their world implodes. Unless they take the deal, Jessica added. They'll take it, I said confidently. Men like them always choose self-preservation over pride. Turner's phone buzzed. First partner's lawyer just called. They're ready to negotiate. I smiled. Right on schedule. Sign here and here. Turner pointed to the marked lines. Initial these pages. Gordon's hand trembled as he signed the documents. Across the conference table, Xavier and the other partners did the same, their lawyers hovering nervously behind them. 3 days had passed since our confrontation. We were back in the same conference room, but the power dynamic had shifted dramatically. That's the last of the property transfers, Turner announced, collecting the papers. BGI Holdings is now officially under new management. You've ruined us, Xavier muttered, not meeting anyone's eyes. No, Jessica corrected from her seat beside me. You ruined yourselves. We just exposed it. My phone buzzed with a message from Annabelle. The moving truck's just finished at the house. Everything's out. Gordon looked up sharply at the sound. Where are my things? In storage, I replied coolly, just like you did with mine. The access code will be sent to your lawyer. What am I supposed to do now? His voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? Funny, I said. Those are the exact questions I asked myself when you sold our house. One of the partners stood up abruptly. This is insane. We had a good thing going. A good thing? Camila interrupted, pulling up photos on the conference room screen. You mean these good things? Images flashed across the screen. Their parties, their secret meetings, bank statements showing suspicious transfers. Enough, Turner said firmly. The deals are signed. You've all been more than fairly compensated considering the alternatives. Fairly compensated? Gordon spat. You've taken everything. Not everything, I corrected. Just the illegally obtained assets. You each still have your personal accounts. Well, what's left of them? Xavier's lawyer cleared his throat. My client would like to discuss the matter of the Aspen property. The property purchased with laundered money? Turner raised an eyebrow. That property has been surrendered to authorities as evidence of criminal activity. Unless you'd like to explain its funding source to the FBI? The lawyer fell silent. My phone buzzed again. This time from Maya. Police just called. They're ready to move on the other properties whenever you give the word. I showed the message to Turner, who nodded. Gentlemen, he announced, I suggest you use what's left of your resources to start fresh, somewhere far away, because once this goes public... Public? Xavier's head snapped up. We promised not to press charges, Jessica cut in. We never promised silence. Gordon stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Holly, please, we can work this out. We can start over. Like you were planning to start over with that girl in the red dress? I pulled out one final photo. Gordon in the jewelry store, caught in the act. How much did that bracelet cost? More or less than my inheritance you stole? He collapsed back into his chair, defeated. Mr. Gordon, Turner said firmly, I suggest you leave now. Your new apartment lease starts today. The address has been sent to your lawyer. New apartment? Gordon looked confused. 1 bedroom, 3rd floor walk-up, I said. The rent fits within your new budget. I picked it myself. Considered it my final executive decision in our marriage. The partners filed out one by one, their lawyers herding them toward the elevators. Xavier paused at the door. Jessica, he started. Save it, she cut him off. The divorce papers are being filed this afternoon. Your things will be gone by the time I get home. Gordon was the last to leave. He stopped beside my chair. I never meant, he began. Yes, you did, I interrupted. You meant every bit of it. You just never thought I'd fight back. The door closed behind him with a final click. Well, Camila said into the silence. That was satisfying. Turner gathered his briefcase. The properties will be sold at market value. The proceeds will be split among the victims of their scheme. And the houses they used for their parties? Jessica asked. Evidence in an ongoing investigation, Turner smiled. The authorities are very interested in their guest lists. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Gordon. I'm sorry. Too little, too late. Ready to go? Camila asked, standing up. I looked around the conference room where my marriage had effectively ended, where justice had finally been served. Just one more thing, I said, pulling out an envelope. Inside was the USB drive I'd taken from behind our wedding photo, Gordon's secret insurance policy that had become his downfall. I dropped it in the shredder. Now I'm ready. As we walked out, Jessica linked her arm through mine. What next? I smiled. I hear the real estate market is looking up. Maybe it's time to buy a new house. One that's all mine? Perfect, I said, signing the final document. The keys to my new house clinked as Turner handed them over. Congratulations, he smiled. This one's all yours. No hidden surprises, no secret partners. Camila bounced excitedly beside me. Can we see it now? We drove to the house, my house, in comfortable silence. It sat on a quiet street, smaller than my old home, but somehow more significant. The garden needed work. The paint was chipping, but it was mine. All mine. Look what we brought! Annabelle's voice rang out as we pulled up. She and Maya stood on the porch, holding paint rollers and takeout bags. We thought you might want to make it yours right away, Maya explained. My phone buzzed, a news alert. The headline made me pause. Local real estate scheme exposed. Multiple arrests made. They actually did it, Jessica said, reading over my shoulder. She'd arrived with a bottle of champagne and determination in her eyes. They tried to start the business up again in another state. Not very smart, Turner noted, pulling up the full article. The FBI was watching their every move. Speaking of moves, Camila interrupted. Gordon's girlfriend, the one in the red dress, just testified against him. Turns out she was working with 3 other escort agencies they'd used. I unlocked the front door, letting everyone in. The empty rooms echoed with possibility. Paint first or food first? Annabelle asked, holding up the rollers. Actually, I said, there's something else first. I pulled out a small box from my bag. Inside was a framed photo, not my wedding photo this time, but a new one taken last week. It showed all of us. Me, Annabelle, Maya, Camila, Jessica, even Turner, celebrating the final court victory. Where should we hang it? Maya asked. Right here. I pointed to the living room wall, where everyone can see it. As Maya hung the photo, my phone buzzed again. A message from Gordon's sister. He's asking about you. Says he wants to apologize properly. I showed it to the others. Delete it, Jessica advised, like I deleted Xavier's 100 messages of regret. Already done, I said. Some chapters need to stay closed. We ordered pizza, opened Jessica's champagne, and started painting the living room. The color, a bold terracotta, was nothing like the safe beige Gordon had insisted on in our old house. Have you seen the latest property listings? Camila asked, rolling paint onto the walls. The houses they used for their parties are being converted into women's shelters. The Justice Department approved it this morning. Good, I said firmly. Something positive should come from all this. Turner's phone rang. He stepped out to take the call, returning with a satisfied smile. That was the prosecutor, he announced. Gordon and Xavier took plea deals. They're looking at significant time. The others too. How long? Jessica asked quietly. 5 to 7 years, plus restitution to all affected parties. Maya raised her champagne glass. To karma. To friendship, Annabelle added. To new beginnings, Jessica chimed in. To executive decisions, I finished, clinking my glass with theirs. As the evening wore on, we painted and planned. Jessica talked about the support group she'd started for women in similar situations. Camila shared ideas for a real estate advocacy program. Maya and Annabelle discussed their upcoming wedding. You know what's funny? I said, stepping back to admire our work. Gordon always said I was bad at making decisions, that I needed his guidance. And now look who's guiding who, Camila grinned. My phone buzzed one final time. An email from the Justice Department. Victim restitution program, first payment processed. What will you do with it? Turner asked. I looked around at my new home, at the family I'd chosen, at the life I'd rebuilt. I'm thinking of starting a foundation, I said, for women who need help getting out of bad situations. Legal aid, housing assistance, that sort of thing. Count me in, Jessica said immediately. Me too, Camila added. Us three, Maya said, hugging Annabelle. Turner pulled out his business card. You'll need a good lawyer. I looked at the newly painted wall, at our group photo hanging proudly in the center. The terracotta color reminded me of sunrise, fitting for this new chapter. You know what Gordon used to say about sunrise? I picked up my paint roller again. That it was just the same sun, different day. And what do you say? Annabelle asked. I dipped the roller in paint, adding another stroke to my fresh start. I say it's a new sun, a new day, and this time, I'm the one making the executive decisions. The room filled with laughter and agreement, the sound echoing off newly painted walls that would never hide secrets or shelter lies. Just truth, justice, and the family I'd found along the way.